Hey team, how we going? Thank you for being here today. Who's the first up the rank? I can see a couple of people here. We didn't give you as much warning about what the topic's going to be on tonight because I was still trying to make up the topic tonight. And it was about basic meritocracy, how the Australian Army can get taken down even before we get to a fight by DEI, which we're seeing is getting uncovered by President 47, as he's absolutely taking it on head to head. So tonight we're going to talk about that. We spoke a little bit about bringing back meritocracy last week. Between now and then, it's been an absolute bloodbath in the stock market, especially in crypto. Let us know if you're in crypto. And basically, I haven't been able to get off this phone. It's been incredible. What else we got there? KC, thank you for Kaz for being here. Great to have you here. I don't think I've seen that before. Is that someone new, or is it someone who's changed their name? But it does sound like Kentucky. There you go, mate. Meritocracy. Who deserves meritocracy the most, if not the only people, other than just a country, is the parents of the actual soldiers that get pushed forward to represent us. Okay, to the soldier that looks to his left and right, he should be able to say, no, that is not the standard that I deserve. I deserve better than that. And that can include looking up and saying, I deserve a leader, not a manager. Do you agree? We saw the DEI creeping into the police force, and then fire brigade, and then the military, and it hasn't really stopped. McDonald's, we've seen DEI there. McDonald's used to be the premier junior leadership training facility. It always was. Kids that went there really, really did well. Now you go in there and it seems like it's some sort of fraternity for those that have fallen on bad luck. You go in there, upside down smiles everywhere. The food is shit. The food is not cooked. The food is cold. The food is late and quite often wrong. And it's 100% better than what it is for the people in KFC. So tonight we're going to talk about DEI, how it can actually affect the military. Is it as big a problem in Australia as what it is in the USA? And is it a greater threat than our future enemies in the first place? So let's have a look at that, because the last thing you want is a cookbook team. Simon Powell, good evening all. Here he is, the filthy Raffy. Guys and gals, leave a comment if your workplace is suffering from DEI, and I believe the ambassadors of DEI, are the HR departments. And who's got one of the worst HR departments of all? The ADF, the Australian Defence Force. How can it take 6 months to a year to get into the military? That's a goddamn disgrace. If anything, you should be trying to keep people out. It is a fantastic fraternity that gives almost everything. I had a conversation with some fantastic people from Patreon today, and sometimes you have to let them know when they make a reference to the money is not what they actually considered it to be, just how good the money is in the Australian Army when you actually pair it with the conditions of service of being in the Australian Army. General Stewart, if you're out there, salute to you. Love the guy and respect him. This is all in his lap now, just like everything is now in Trump's lap. We need to see some changes. We need to see shit ramp up, and we look after ourselves before the glass smashes, and we need the best to represent us all. Jimmy Smith, g'day, buddy. Lukey Jenkins, spoke to you today. Love it. He's basically as close as you get to family. I grew up in the military beside his brother, and now he is about to go in too. We've got Wes. Hey, Kaz and chat. Is that Wes from the ex-prison Wes? Simon Powell, Patreon, throwing it up there. If you're not in there now, team, jump on there. Let me take a little bit more of my life away, and I'll talk to you one-on-one. And, I learn a lot too when I'm on there. Okay, no, g'day. Okay, no, that's an unusual name, but I'll take that. So is anyone here in crypto at the moment? Is anyone suffering but watching the fight back as the tariffs fall on Canada, Mexico, and China? Right. Let's see how that works out. I wouldn't be betting to go hard against the biggest economy in the world. Anyway, how's it going to affect us? We're going to see, aren't we? Right. So DEI, how does it affect us? It starts all the way, and you're going to see some of these banners from the other day. Bam. We'll go back to this, and it is important that we understand this, guys, because it affects you if you want to join the Australian Army. But what's more is it allows you to look at those to the left and right of you and say, am I getting the representation I deserve for someone that could face the bayonet of an enemy opposition force in the future? And do I feel like that I have the representation there? And do I feel up to the standard to represent them? Because that's important too. The greatest critic should be yourself. The internal voice is asking, am I good enough? Now, not only do we have pretty dog shit system for recruiting, which can stretch out over months, if not almost a year for some people, and at times there's a lack of moral courage when we don't actually allow someone that's an absolute NPC or zombie to know they're never going to get in the military, but people don't have the moral courage to tell them never reapply. We also don't have the capability, and no one can tell me why you cannot walk into a recruiting facility and go and get an 80% solution face-to-face with a cup of coffee with someone who corresponds to what you want to join. I want to join and be a submariner in a nuclear submarine that doesn't exist, and I want to get seagoing allowance for that submarine that I won't get into until I get to the USA. Now, that is a fantastic sweetener. And that is all the encouragement you need for the right people to come over and go, well, I'd like to live in the USA on a shed full of different allowances that allow me to not only work with another country in someone else's submarine that's good to go, but also join my new team. You know, and if there's some ladies in there that Navy guys aren't interested in, then drop my number. Gordo says, g'day. Anthony, I think KFC may be moving down the road with Macca's. Their food standards have dropped around my area. Could be because of not hiring experienced workers because of pay. Look, no one is ever going to be happy with their pay, but KFC is not a career, and neither is McDonald's. Yep, it's meant to be what you go into to give you a taste for the work life, to say that you've got some experience in the workforce, that you can take orders, that you have the discipline to turn up, that you have a uniform that you can maintain. Sledgehammer. Hammer time. There you go, mate. G'day, bro, and everyone. Mr. Buckaroony, here he is. Mr. Buckaroony would be an expert on meritocracy, but not just that, on DEI. That is DEI. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. The three things that tell you. This is what's ironic about DEI. It's only given to losers. If you were a DEI pick, and you'll never see a white heterosexual male being DEI hired, it is only there to give someone a job that could not get that job under any circumstances unless they were presented with something that gave them special treatment over people more qualified to do that job. And that should be a felony. That is cooking the books fucking deliberately. That should be a crime. Let's bring up an example. For a while we had a DEI scenario, which was a preconditioning program that was originally there for just female soldiers to be able to come in, do 2 years and get a 4-year medal for that, and then be able to come in and operate 1/10 of a male standards that he'd be sacked if he didn't conduct. So the preconditioning program, if Luke Jenkins went to join the military, they would say, okay, through the interview, through the aptitude test, through the medical, through the psychological, through the PFA, any one of those he fails has come back in 1 year. But for some reason, females and Aboriginal and Torres Strait soldiers, and I believe maybe some LGBT as well, by the videos, were told that even if you can do, I think it's 2 push-ups or 3 push-ups, you'll be paid on the money of the taxpayer, even though you should be told either never come back, or come back in 1 year, you've turned up as a slob. Not confident, don't give a fuck. Turn up ready. And they haven't turned up ready, but because of their DEI representation and target that they need to meet, they give special treatment for 7 weeks for these people, and they come back in at week 1 with what I would say an advantage, a head start, at PFA level, which is far lower than the standard required for existence in the Australian Army, far below it. So that is a felony, a crime that costs people finances in the Australian taxpayers for people that do not qualify beside people that must meet the requirement to serve. To me, DEI, that's wrong. We've got Jay Dan watching from Singo. G'day, guys. How you going? They're about to get back in the session for all the guys in Gallipoli return. Going over the top. You've got to pass that BFA this week, so we can find out whether you're going into session. We've got a special guy called Stagey who's there right now, who reckons he's good to go, hasn't trained much over Christmas, but got nearly 2 months off because it was training time. Well done, Jay Dan. Not J Dam, the bomb. Dwayne Duffy. Hello, Kaz, and everyone. I hope you're well. We are well, mate. I wish I was a little bit better than the stock market at the moment, but everything bounces back, doesn't it? Mr. Buckery, disappointed to see what has happened between Canada and the USA. It'll fix itself, and what this will hopefully do is allow Mr. Polyev to be pushed into power after Trudeau is vacated, and then a more cordial relationship is forged. We need the Canadians to be in a good place. They've had a real hard time for a bunch of years, and they deserve a break. DEI is woke shit, absolutely, but there is so many people that worship it. Yeah. And it's always the people that would never get a job off their own bat, off their own merit, off their own capabilities. It's just their whining ass and their lack of ability to push themselves to train, that allows them to beg for special treatment. And the sad thing is they get it. So preconditioning program, get rid of it. The fact that now we have support soldiers and we have combat soldiers, some of their standards are so low that you can now no longer call it one army. You're not. You're getting paid. This group has got a massive standard, a differential to the other, right? But paid the same. Again, I'll just get in, do 2 years and get a 4-year medal. How does that make sense? Or they can join the military and they can have 2 babies in a 4-year period if they stayed in for 4 years. And I don't believe there's a ROSO, return of service obligation, if they have those children. So they can basically go in there, be an incubator for their 4-year stint and then get back out. And if they stay in, they actually keep their seniority, including if they're officers, which should be impossible because you have no seniority. You're not effing there. Benny, great talk today, my man. He had a great phone call today. Diversity, equity, inclusion. Don't hire the most qualified person for the job, but instead hire someone because of their skin color or sexual orientation. Yep, I want a blunt cactus pushed up my ass. That should be a qualifying factor. No. Blunt cactus. Anyway, don't hire the most qualified person for the job. As a matter of fact, they will bypass past the qualified person to get someone who's not qualified, and that's what makes it criminal. You can watch video after video of fails, especially with police officers, with people that are not made for that job, and they're representing you, and that could mean the death of civilians. Okay, and Mr. Buckery says, when I left the Army, I applied for customs, didn't get past first base, and neither did I. Got told on the sly that I was the wrong colour and nationality. How about that shit? They didn't tell me that, but I got told no, and they didn't tell me why, and that was for the border patrol in the boats on the southern waters. To meet a bullshit quota, yep, and whoever brings that up should be sacked as well. Mr. Buckerini, Kaz was 2-4 and then 2 are out. That's correct. Polyev is fuming as well, mate, so he should be. He's pissed off more than the PM. He said today Canada lost 160 soldiers in Afghanistan for the USA. This is the thanks we get. Look, he needs to pull his head in a little bit too and remember, okay, that Trudeau absolutely went ham against the USA and also went crazy on their own people, on their truckers, froze bank accounts, all sorts of shit. So I think he's getting rid of the past and he's going to create a clean future, and there they go. And let's hope so, because Canada are our brothers as well, part of the Five Eyes as well. Yep. How you doing, Simon Powell? Says Double D. Simon Powell, Mr. Buckerini applied for the spot in the Australian version of the Intel department. 8,000 plus applied. I got through 9 sections of a 15-section recruiting process. How many more was there to go? It sounds like a goddamn Squid Game. Dwayne Duffy? Not good, mate. You're not doing good, Dwayne. Let's have a talk. Okay, tomorrow I will be at, I can't really say where I'm going to be. But the following day, no, I can't say where I'm going to be. White Mars, hey, mate, it's Jezza. Good to tune in. G'day, buddy. How you going? White Maz, racist, bigot. Another 77. G'day, everyone. We used to look up to the army, man. What happened? The army is still effing excellent. You know, General Stewart has got himself a fantastic franchise, but he does need to pull the hammer down and say no transgender. Okay, we need to cut that shit away. The reason why I say that, I'm not scared of them. I am curious why they are the way they are. And I've got some evidence here that comes from the US Department of Defense, which, if anything, shows that transgender should absolutely have no position ever in a military or government job. They even admit the most dangerous person, and this is from born a male, now a female, kind of hybrid creature, is saying that the greatest risk that they have to their own life is from themselves. Do you want that person beside you with grenades in their hands, in their pouches, if they hit the moment of depression? The thing about Australian Army is I don't believe that anyone comes transgender to the recruiting process at the psychological screening when they're sitting beside you and then says, this is who I am they. So if you recruit me, that's even more of us, but I'm still one person. Okay. Now the problem is if you get in it under one standard, you know, which is your biological sex, and then you get in and then you say, hey, I'm transgender, you've completely flipped the script in the contract, because if you're a male and you're saying I'm female, now you're going to be taking testosterone blockers or whatever they are so that you become less capable as a human being physically. All right. Also, there's going to be medication that you must take. There might be things that need to be done medically and ongoing. I don't know about this. I'm not one of them. That makes you it means that you're giving restricted service because now you can't go field. Now you can't go on operations because you need to be below a certain J classification for service. I'll bring that up in a minute, that page, because it's quite interesting. Mr. Buckerini, 2-4, RAR stole our cockatoo. Strip club. Mr. Buckerini, Trump is also going to bring the heat on South Africa because of the blacks running whites off their farms. I hope so. They've actually been speaking in stadiums over there of what they'd like to do to massacre whites, which is pretty scary for those South African brothers of ours and sisters and the children. Hey, mate, we need to catch up on the phone soon, mate. Absolutely. All you got to do is send me a message and there we go. Spanners, we're on guard when Courage, the wedge-tailed eagle, died at Tucav. Huh. Freddie, my dad served with Tucav over in Vietnam. He was a recce mech over there. Yep. Yeah. 2RA doesn't have a mascot. Sometimes I say it's 1RA. Right, let's talk about our officers a little bit when we get to what we're talking about. And that is leadership self. All right. If I was to go back to what I was saying just quickly, there should be no quota other than the right people for the military and those people that are going to do the military proud. I'll give you another example of DEI, okay? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. There are certain operations that we go on when we're giving infantry training to other countries where we need to also be respectful to their culture. You know, and I know that when I've done these activities within the Army, instructing people to come up with dilemmas that might be confronting, but means that facts have got to beat feelings. One of the things that I found very hard to get through to people is couldn't give a fuck about your feelings. You know, we'd say to people, you're going to send a team over to Afghanistan or Iraq as a training team. right? This is how long you're going for. This is what you're going to be teaching infantry-minded tactics, who you're going to be training to, young fighting age males from Iraq or Afghanistan for the ANA. And basically, what was weird was they didn't realize that you cannot send a female to instruct Islamic men. You can't do it. It is a slap in the face of people that are Islamic. Same deal. You wouldn't send an infantryman to go over. You're allowed to go and search a female whenever you want, the males, but you don't do it. You allow females to assist us as human teams, or ride along, so to speak, or even MPs as part of patrols that allow them to do that job, righto? So the respect goes both ways. There's times where you don't use a male, there's times where you don't use a female. But at the end of the day, the only people that should be able to determine, who is not allowed to serve beside their own soldiers, or some sort of input into the leadership, should be the parents of soldiers, future soldiers, airmen, and sailors, but also those that are on the ground that do the fighting, which is why on the thumbnail I had that that logo that I made, live by the sword, but with a pen there, because those pens will insist on trying to mandate how those with the sword do their job once those with the pen fail. And DEI is always from those that carry the pen. But they're beaten into submission some of our leaders, junior leaders, chain of command, into allowing people to pass at standards that are below standard. We're seeing people that join the army that cannot do a BFA, fine, but they shouldn't be allowed to leave the army, Kapuka, until they can do a BFA and pass. There should not be people that go to RMC as officers that go there that are only allowed to carry a certain amount of weight in their packs while they're doing training, while the rest of the army has to carry packs sometimes twice the weight. There should be the requirement to pass a BFA definitely at a higher level for officers and what there is for the enlisted soldier, for the confidence and the requirement to use their brain as a weapon when it comes to the planning in adverse conditions in shortened periods of time to allow them decisive thinking, in complex environments. But no one ever talks about that for some reason. G'day, Cassie. How you going, mate? Hey, Ash, how you going? The stage. Bam. This gentleman, I won't tell you where he is right now, but let's call him the dentist. Okay. Banned all debates. G'day, mate. How you going? Ash, how is it going back to blankets instead of doonas, my man? You had so much time off, you probably couldn't wait to go back. And that indoor pool is going to be beautiful and warm. Make sure you say hello to Fiona for me. She's a peach. G'day, Zelana. How you going, mate? Pretty Cars. That's amazing. Kaz, I followed in the footsteps of Kaz Senior. Such an honour, mate. He is my hero. As you know, he's my hero. G'day, Jelena. So what else did we have here? Okay, leadership. One of the things that really hurts me to see is how many of our military, Air Force, and Navy are actual managers, not leaders. Now, I spoke to someone yesterday who's going to be an officer. The pool is broken, says Ash. They were saying that last year, mate. How can a pool be broken? It's a government agency. That should be fixed straight away. That's a national asset. It's part of the training curriculum to pass people in swimming. Therefore, DEI hasn't had that fixed. There's no excuse. They've had 2 months to get that done. How do you break a pool? You can shit in it. I get it. But all that takes is a mozzie net to fish it back out, the polywaffle, throw it back on the road and get back into it. So leadership. We've got too many people that turn up there as fat slobs, people who are weak, people who are offended easily. They don't look like officers when you see a lot of them. Some of them look like the top of the spear, the tip of the spear. Absolutely amazing, beyond their years, fantastic. But you look at a lot of them and you're going, dude, how did you get that job? When you did an officer selection board, they would have said to you, what makes you think that you're a leader? What is a leader? When you said what is a leader is someone in the absence of supervision that would pick you as a team to lead them because there is something about you that exudes that confidence, that professionality, where they would like to follow you and they believe out of the group that they're standing in without getting instruction from others, they choose you voluntarily. Then some of these people, there is no way. And you don't see them failing either. Of course, where no one's really failing, there's a problem. The course is not hard enough. I believe the way it should go, tell me if I'm wrong, especially if you've got any officers out there, I believe that lieutenant at minimum should be 8 to 10 years. And then it should be captain for 1 year, major for the rest of your career, unless you were someone through some sort of situation has allowed you to elevate above the others, to become a Napoleon, to become a Bonaparte, to become a Wellington, to become a Julius Caesar, to become whoever you like to cherish from the past. But you should know what leadership is. You should have people that you look at and look up to and have studied. And if you do that, there's no excuse for being a bag of shit, a piece of trash that's going to get people in danger. The danger of giving someone a DEI hire as a leader is they will then look the other way for DEI placements, or what's worse is they may only want people that are DEI to be around them. Okay, create their own little fraternity, whether that be LGBT, whether it be cultural, whether it be religious, whatever. We don't need that. The pool is broken. Kaz, leaders lead, managers manage. Both important aspects of the jobs, but vastly different. One is strategic and one is operational. Well, they can both be strategic, but you're right what you're saying there. Some of the best managers have no leadership skills, Mr. Buccarini, very few unfit officers in my day, Kaz. Most were young and fit, even in signals. I totally agree. Remember, I started on reserve in signals, Mr. Buccarini. I see some amongst the police force who I see them go around, guys absolutely oozing with leadership. Okay, when they ask you to do something, they do it politely, but they do it with steely eye contact that they're not really asking you. They're telling you to comply, but giving you an option to be, a volunteer, so to speak, if you've got nothing to hide. I think that if lieutenants did 10 years, and there's no reason why they shouldn't, then it wouldn't end up being a conveyor belt just spitting people forward regardless of whether they're ready or not. And when they go through DOCM, through their career agency, they shouldn't be allowed to go in there and say, I'm ready for promotion. That should come from a report that says that you have performed to the standard required for consideration for advancement. And if it only happened every 10 years or every 6 years, then that means that we could slow down on the recruiting of officers. We could get rid of all of the officers at the top with a reformation that goes through there and gets rid of all the dead wood, that are really public servants who are basically just barnacles on the side of the boat, getting an overinflated paycheck for what they actually could distribute, if anything. And what it means is that the RMC could basically be running reach the heights, that you would call actual leadership, not just managers. So I think that would be a good step. Would they take that? No, because they have a sort of a look after each other policy. Blakey Smith, who are leaders you admire? Me? Well, funny enough, I actually like Joan of Arc. I think Joan of Arc is a phenomenal one. In the times where France was fighting against England, etc., that a female, probably 58 kilos, like I was when I joined the army, was able to actually get an entire nation behind her to fight for the voice of God. And when they said to her, basically, you're not the voice of God, and if you were, that you'd get on that pyre and let yourself be burnt at the stake, but you're not allowed to be tied up. She tried to do it once, the pain, naturally the pain of burning. She understood the power of the sacrifice, and she hopped off the first time. The next time when they said, "See, it's not the voice of God," she got back up there and let herself be burnt to death. I loved Trajan, what he did with Rome. I really respected Rommel. I Vercingetorix, not Vercingetorix, sorry, from Bad Schuttenberg Forest. Arminius, what he did after he became a knight of the Roman order, went back and got his people together. Some of the Mongols generals were fantastic. Leadership, Donald Trump. I like his leadership. A lot of people don't, but they can't tell you why. Anyway, Sean, I was in reducing light infantry. There was hardly any unfit and non-experienced officers. I absolutely would contest to that without seeing them myself, Sean, because you know that where danger is present, rarely does DEI occur. Where do we find that at? Ukraine. The first second those shots rang out, what we heard, it was the sound of high heels getting out of the country. You right? Yeah, mate, that would have been some hard stories, Sean. As you know, I did a stint over in Rwanda, in Central Africa over there, and then became an Egyptian citizen and worked in the Sinai Peninsula. So over there, you need to be on your game. But what's more is your team needs to be on their game, because when it goes wrong, it goes really bad. In the States, that'd be 50 pounds of crap in 25-pound bag. I'm not sure what that is. Okay, score 96. Most officers, especially new ones, usually have a big ego thinking they're above everyone. I think what there also is, and this is to throw a lifeline out to some of the officers, there is an expectation that they get told to come in and lead. Professional confidence. Come in there, hit the ground running. So they're still trying to find themselves. As long as they've got a good platoon sergeant with them, that molds them, doesn't change the shop front, has a good conversation with them before they meet the boys, lay out some realistic boundaries between left and right of arcs, so there's no gutter ball like in bowling, then the officers don't need to do that. They'll be introduced to be able to placate what they're great at, and put on display so people go, goddamn fit. I like that. He's here before me. He's here when I leave. The guy speaks with clarity. The guy speaks up. I get it. He's still got to know his place too, because he can get chopped down by his peers as well. Managers cope with things, and reactive leaders are proactive. Well, the good thing about the leader, if you are a leader, you wouldn't allow DEI to happen, would you? And that's the hard thing, the hard reality, that wherever DEI is, there's normally a lack of leadership, because a leader wouldn't put up with that shit, wouldn't allow that shit. You wouldn't allow it. You turn the organization into a franchise and try to make it better than the person before you. And then the person after you needs to make it better than the person that you were. So there's always an evolution. Australia's best product is not our equipment. It's always been our soldier that have done more with less. And that was because the standards were high and were held to them. Things like the Skippy badge you had to earn. No one was just handed it. There was no DEI. But some of that has gone out the window as there's DEI hires, and people are told these people are not allowed to really fail. So when someone isn't allowed to fail, that will follow them for the rest of their career as well, won't it? Rommel's a strange one. If he fought for us, he would be the most praised general in history. He might have fought for them, but he was respected by all enemies. He didn't actually fight for the NA. You're not allowed to say that word because it will get crashed by the algorithm. He didn't fight for them. Jonathan Smith, pretty sure Rommel. I don't think he did, Jonathan. That part of history is glossed over. He wasn't the person you think he was. He was a commander on the battlefields. The people that did the atrocities normally were not, your regular soldiers that were there for the fighting. Okay, they were quite often, a lot of them were actually people who'd been in World War One that were actually used, and they were volunteers, and they become like a police force. But again, volunteers. John Smith's pretty sure. Okay, I think Australia values its personnel more than its equipment, unlike other countries. Look, I would have thought that until Australia Day the other day. I went down, for those who've seen the videos on Instagram, etc. I could barely get a Happy Australia Day said back to me. Everyone I said Happy Australia Day to didn't want to say it back. In Canberra, there was not one single Australian flag that I see, other than a kid that was wearing a T-shirt with the Australian flag. I heard it was really, really good in Sydney, in the heart of Sydney. I heard it was really good. Yeah. It's a sad day because Australia's got a lot to be proud of, and I don't think we've got really anything to be ashamed of in any area. Yeah. All right. What are we talking about here? Here we go. This is a DEI hire. I'll show you here. This is a pretty scary, thing we've got here. Where is it? Okay. Sorry, I'm going to have to read this for you. So this is born a gentleman, became transgender, Major Rachel Jones. So for starters, I'm not doing what a transgender person tells me to do. To me, you're not an officer. You're not a leader. You've made your military career about you instead of the team. You're demanding and compelling someone to treat you special. You didn't come into the military and say, I'm this, and then enlisted. You came in, then flipped the franchise, and here you are. But what's scary about this is the US Sustainment Commander, Cyber Division G6 Information Manager, struggled with depression and suicidal ideology for most of her life. Today, he is living his truth and is no longer battling depression or suicidal thoughts. Okay, but that's good to hear. I am glad for that. The observance of Pride Month should not exist. If the only pride you need to have is in your country's flag, and that was said on the US the other day. Now, pride flags can no longer fly on a flagpole in the USA at all, on any government building, and I believe that should be the way in Australia, and there should also be no pride march unless they're dressed properly. It doesn't make sense to me that police are seeing people that they'd arrest on a normal day, for the way they're dressed in front of children, but then there's a day where even police are dressed the same. Doesn't make sense. An observance of Pride Month celebrated every June was recognised, by the Department of Defence on June the 12th. The road to self-acceptance was not easy for Jones. If you had joined the army and just stayed, your only pronoun should be your rank. Yep. And your surname. That's it. So not only have they made a point of you're going to call me this, but it's not enough to just be called your name and your surname, your rank and your surname. No. I want you to call me by my pronouns. Yep. Perversing the system. When I was growing up in the 80s, 90s, the pressure of hiding all of the time was so bad I grew up depressed. Okay, and that is sad to hear. I am sad for that. I don't like bullies, and I do feel for people when they feel like they don't fit in. I really do. This is the one that should have been grounds for, I believe, for dismissal from the military, because mental health is the biggest reason why people are discharged. Jones, however, feels lucky to be alive today. Listen to this. This is what she said. Even when deployed, the greatest threat to my own life, to my own safety, was myself. Do you want that person beside you with grenades? Do you want that person beside you controlling organizations under extreme fatigue and conditions? No, thanks. The risk of depression, post-traumatic stress, and suicidal ideation is twice as high for LGBTQ and veterans and soldiers who have concealed their true selves than non-LGBTQ. Veterans and soldiers explain Master Resilience trainer Stephanie Allers, who served as a program specialist and suicide prevention liaison in the G1 Human Resources Readiness and Resilience Division. One reason for this is the chronic toxic stress experienced by those who need to opt to hide their true self, those who have experienced loss of support or interpersonal professional relationships because of their identity. Could have kept that to yourself. Shouldn't have to force me to salute you, because I don't want to. And I'm sorry about that, but that's the way I am. And as someone that serves, I think we should have a greater say in who serves beside us. Yep. And not to be around people that are taking medication or medical procedures that may prevent them from being able to deploy. That's restricted service. Get them out of the... Okay. Brycey, I want to go officer. Considering how uppers feel about DEI, should I shut my mouth when I can't? Yes. Brycey, honestly, to be honest, skip the subject. It won't affect you. There's a little bit of politics when you get to Kapuka, etc. But after that, that falls away. And then what occurs is you get to your ROBC, if you're an officer. I'm just trying to get this off the page. Okay. So what would occur is, oops, I didn't get out of there then, did I? Why is it, Tim? So when you get to the School of Infantry or your IET training, what will occur from there is the politics kind of falls away. And then it comes down to meritocracy, because if you can't stand up and you can't finish what you start, then chances are you're going to get back squared either way, or you're going to have a very prolonged period of time there. And when you go to the School of Infantry, you can't just quit, okay? You will stay there, and they'll say the best way that you can get out of here if you don't like it here is to actually finish the entire course to show you can finish what you start, and then say, this wasn't for me, let's go. Otherwise, it can be put down as a psychological failing. Jonathan Smith, I stand corrected. However, I think a good leader must have a strong moral compass. Absolutely. Rommel knew that if he won, the SS would sack Israel, and that was unforgivable. Look, you got to remember that Rommel actually was behind one of the assassination attempts on the guy with the mustache. And when they got caught, he actually took his own life out of respect from that guy. So he was a field commander. He was also in charge of looking after Sword Beach, Utah, and all that when before D-Day happened. But he was away for a weekend with the Fraulein, and ultimately that ended pretty bad for them. Elise King, how are we going? The king, who's actually a queen. Ashy, what would you say to a non-binary officer? What would I say to a non-binary officer? That's a really, really good question. Now, I think I wouldn't salute them, and then something would follow from that. I'm sorry, I can't do it. I'm a Christian soldier, and I'm not going to be disrespectful to you, but you can't compel me to salute someone, who is clearly mentally ill. I'm not saying to do that. Just be aware there's repercussions for actions. And if the army says they're allowed, then there's nothing I can do about it. Did Israel exit during World War II? Did they? I should know all this because I'm actually was in Israel a lot. The 1948 independence, they were given Israel. It was signed off by Lawrence of Arabia, I believe. And from there, it was actually from the deeds of the Commonwealth soldiers that gave it to them by defeating the Ottoman Empire in places like the Battle of Romani, Palestine, Beersheba, etc. How do you know they're non-binary? Kaz would say, ma'am, show us your... yeah. How would you know? Well, you tend to be able to know. Even when you go through Thailand, you can sort of say that really good-looking one looks too good-looking to be a Sheila. Be careful. The land was called called Israel, but yes, it only formalised its statehood in 48. Yep. Okay, Tristan is laying down some information there as well. There you go. Thank you, Stagey. How would I call a non-binary officer? I'd just call them sir. If it was a woman trying to be a man, I'm a bit of a smart ass. I'd call them by their biological rank. I reckon I'd call them ma'am if they were trying to be a man. If they were a man trying to be a woman, I'd call them sir. I've done it before, been in trouble for it before. That's a different story. It was known as Palestine. Biblically, Israel existed after they left Egypt. Just remember that Israel was around these locations thousands of years before the Ottoman Empire and Islam even existed, and they're cousins. Okay, where are we? Okay. We spoke about this the other day. One standard for all. That is not happening in the military. There's something that we can talk about quickly, and that is with the military, there is and this is for leaders, there is a military appreciation process also for those that are in the intelligence community. The military appreciation process and the individual military appreciation process. I'm not going to go into everything about it, but if we are going to go into a deep analysis of the enemy's abilities, his center of gravity, where he derives his will to fight, his critical vulnerabilities that we can aim at and we can exploit. If we're going to do that about the enemy, why aren't we doing it about ourselves? Why aren't we doing it with the amount of overflow officers we've got as an organization? Why aren't we doing it for our DEI hires, for the double standards we've got based on people's gender, as well as based on their Indigenous status, etc. These things should not be happening. You should not be given any slack at all, no matter where you're from. It's you turn up ready or you're not ready, because you owe it to the soldiers. So if we're going to do that deep, dark analysis on our own people and say, you've got to have one standard, because if you don't, you will degrade the morale, the capabilities, and also the standards of our fighting force and the tradition. One of the things that's really beautiful when you go to the Canberra War Memorial is there is no ranks on the wall of honor of the dead. Okay, so we go and fight together, and we die together, and on those walls we're all equal. And for the Indigenous soldiers that fought alongside their brothers, I've got the book over here. They quoted that it was the first time they ever felt like they were that they were welcome, that they were one of the family, one of the team. And the only time that stopped was when they came back from being in the military and went back to normal society. So soldiers will treat you based on your performance, your ability, your professionalism, your teamwork, your mateship, your sense of humor, and your right to be there beside them. If there is a group of 30 people and someone is a DEI hire that cannot perform, if someone is too sensitive, if someone doesn't fit in, it won't be a good fit. But if you do not come up to the standard required, you don't finish what you start, then we have to carry your gear for you. Then we have to cover the space that you can't cover because you didn't make it. We might have to carry your pack. What's worse is, when you're overseas, it's already hypertension. And if you don't fit in, we don't want you to feel bad either. Right? We just want the right people. People revert back to assholes sometimes when they're overseas. And if you stand out a little bit, it's not always good. Very important not to degrade morale. It is. Once morale starts to go, you're gone. One of the things I recommend that everyone should take with them to Kapuka, to the School of Infantry, to the School of Transport, to artillery, no matter what you go to, is take a pack of UNO cards. If you take a pack of UNO cards, that means that everyone can be accepted. That means you can pull over a brand new soldier and let them sit down with the experienced soldiers or the veterans, and they sit down and through sense of humor, through playing this bonding game, which is more than just a pack of cards, it's a way to bond, then you won't feel the trauma of boredom that sets in on soldiers that don't have phones, that don't have electricity, that don't have that don't have food delivered, etc. Pack of the cards, one of the best things you can do. Benny, hey Kaz, do you know what has been removed now for Kapuka in the night at Canberra? This is one of the things that I've spoken about before, Benny, that is a travesty, and I'd love to know who the person is that cut this out of the curriculum. No, I believe Canberra has been taken out of the 9-week curriculum for those going to Kapuka. It is essential that you go and see the home of the unknown soldier in his tomb. It is important that you get to run your hands while you're now a uniform member, and you should be wearing your uniform too, by the way. Introduce to the public that are walking around that this is your newest serving soldiers, and allow people to come over, and take you into their fold and walk around with you. And you feel like, I now have a place where I belong with the customs and traditions of the Anzac. What a beautiful thing that would be, to go and look at the people all the way back from the Boer War to the baptism of fire, all the way up to Afghanistan. The learning you could do there without anyone talking is fantastic. So, Stagey, so you did go. Never got to go to Canberra. Okay, there you go. That's a shame, Stagey. You deserve to go. So it was like the CWA Simon baking cakes for Mornos. Exactly the same. Not quite Bretto. There we are. Tim, we're not going to be on for a long time tonight. There's a lot happening in the back play, and we were very lucky to sort of get on here tonight, to tell you the truth. War fighting standards, again, if you don't have the leadership, if you don't have the soldiers, you lie about the amount of people that are at the unit. Okay, call yourself motorized, call yourself mechanized, but don't have the vehicles. Call yourself submariners, but don't have the subs. Have whole rifle companies missing, or capabilities degraded, or spoken about but not represented. That is cooking the books. And then eventually we start to go, well, who cares anymore? And just anyone will do. And then you've got people with no leadership that are actually telling people what to do, who don't want to be there. They get out after 4 years or 2 years and get a 4-year medal. And then ultimately you've got a cookbook army, which means that the enemy doesn't have to do anything for us because we're not ready. And one of the biggest fears for me would be, and we have got the best small army still in the world. We do. But it's more of the scaffolding of what it could be, what it should be. I don't want US forces to come and land on mainland Australia, and represent us and become basically someone who fights for us. We need to be credible. We need to be proud. We need to look professional. The US really look up to Australian soldiers. We need to maintain that and foster that. We need to recruit. We need to have more than one regular infantry. We need to get our reservists, and where we can with our forward observers, okay, we need to get them input into the units there nearby and garrison near, so they actually get osmosis training. We don't need course reports. Just get them in there, get them excited, get them trained, right? And our army and out goes up, and do the same for the USA as well. We really need to do that. Where are we? Hey, Sledgehammer, how you going, mate? Have I fallen behind you? Says over here that Sledgehammer is just welcome to the Bear of Coffee, mate. Great to have you here. Oh, that's why. Sorry, guys, I'm a savage. It's really hard to do these streams, team, and sometimes, if you're a military member, you're going to know where I'm coming from. But I don't want to come here and talk just the way we talk in the military. You might find it too dark for you. But what we talk about, it's not about feelings. We just talk about shit, but we laugh about it. And most of the stuff is not acceptable in today's palette of conversation, which has been subdued by feelings and DEI sensitivity, right? So what I'd say to you is be the best version of you, expect the best version of those that work with you. As soon as you're a commander, if you're in a section, make it the best possible section. If you're in the platoon, make it the best platoon. If you're in a company, make it the best company. But DEI needs to stay at the door. We are famous. You do not have to be perfect, but your attitude should be above normal, above the standard required. You should be patriotic. You should love your nation. You should understand that Donald Trump is now your commander-in-chief more than what the king is your commander-in-chief. Now, when America comes here, let's compete against them. Let's make them earn their daily bread and walk away from here saying the best soldiers I ever worked with was Australian soldiers. They had leaders. They didn't have managers. There wasn't as many of them as what there was of us. But by Jesus, you want to make sure that you don't actually want to call them outside because they will go. These guys love you. They will look after you, but they're led well. General Stewart, fantastic man. I hope that they give him a chance to get the politicians' glove out of their ass and allow this to be the best small army that we can possibly have, because Australia is a country that's worth defending. It really is. It really is. Every time you see kids, every time you see families, you think that's what it's all about. And every day, my phone is full of conversations with people that are stoic, with people that are excited, working on their fitness every day, that want a different life, that just want to represent the country, themselves and their family, and put some history into their name tag and, just live a different life. G'day, Edgar. How you going, mate? A 19-year-old received a class 4 medical rejection last year. Been my discipline and finding skills that would be useful doing carpentry this year. Carpentry, that's the job of Jesus. Well done, mate. 19-year-old received a class 4 medical rejection last year. What was the rejection for, mate? That's a pretty big medical denial there. Was that for asthma? Was that for criminal record? Pretty cars. But remember, all of the auxiliaries that supported the main force would have had a fairly large number of members, which was a show of national pride. Well, the auxiliary was the way, the pathway to get accepted as a Roman citizen as well. And Rome outsourced their skills to their auxiliaries, so that whether it was cavalry, whether it was archers, etc., they put it out for those guys who were the best at it. Let's employ them. But no one employed people better than what Hannibal did they? General Stewart needs to speak up. The army isn't up to speed. I agree. Not Flesh, due to a silly mistake on my end. I mentioned once more when I was 14. Wasn't an issue. However, that is in the army. Absolutely, it's an issue. Team, if you want to avoid the pitfalls, get on the bat phone. It is not a confession session. I could almost imagine that they would have been saying there then, no, what have you done? Now I can't take you. Help in. Now we've got it, one Trump won. I think everything with these sanctions will fall away fairly quickly after he's won the trade battle. And I think you're going to realise exactly why he did it. I don't know why, but I'm sure we'll know soon enough. He's done a fantastic job. He is not a manager. He is a goddamn leader, and he is a lion, and he will be known as one of the greats unless he does something between now and 4 years to stuff it up. Band, what's the process for going from reserves to full-time? Do I need to do the full-time training again? No, you don't. But banned from all debates. What a good name that is. You know, I don't know whether I should be asking you to come on, but banned all debates. Jump on Patreon. You might already be on there. Give me a call, and let's sort this out, and we'll get you from being reserves to regular and change your life. They won't rock the boat because they won't get that in the next rank. And that's the thing that pisses me off, Bucko. I go there and put myself on the line, and speak with moral courage, as a private soldier. I don't give a fuck about becoming a lance corporal or corporal or sergeant or warrant officer. We go in, and this is why I say most leadership you'll find is in the NCO ranks, in even the privates ranks. That's where you find it. But sadly, we lose all our best people. There's so many women in Singleton. Do you mean the town or on Lone Pine Barracks, mate? We lose so many of our best to the 2nd Commando Regiment and SASR because we don't have a big enough infantry footprint to be able to feed those two organisations while still getting better ourselves and creating a posture where someone might choose to go, no, I don't want to go to Special Forces. I want to be the best in the Royal Australian Regiment. Okay? That should be great too. Ben, by the way, your full information videos has been really motivational, entertaining. We always welcome here, mate. Ash, what are women doing on the barracks at Lone Pine Barracks? Do you mean ones that work there, or do you mean female soldiers that have been lied to by DFR? Interesting. Anyway, so team, if there's any last questions, let's have it. Otherwise, we're going to get out of here. All trainees, well, mate, I wish them the best. No, but it's going to be a hard slog, and they're going to know it when they see that obstacle course, when they've got to carry the gun. Right? And they should have to do, if you do not do the males fitness test, then you are a DEI hire. I hate to tell you. And that includes for the old bastards. Yeah. He should, Buck, to kick our pollies into line and get us out of the WF and the WHO. Yep. We need a referendum for free speech and proper self-defense and property rights. Absolutely. I don't think we need to bring the guns back. I do, mate. Once more, Aussies own some land. Enlistment should rise. Dilemmas. I actually believe that they should open up some Crown land in parts of Australia where they can go and open some new towns. Yep. I want to go Chalk Infantry, enlisted to Chalk Infantry officer. What do you think? Jonathan Smith, if you're not on Patreon, you need to jump on Patreon, and you and I'll have a great conversation that goes for an hour. We'll answer every one of your questions, and depending on what you do for a civilian job, I'll either steer towards or away from being an officer. Dutton will be weak as well. I reckon he won't want to rock the boat. I just think that he's unlikable. I don't know what it is about Dutton. I don't know what it is. One last question, Kaz. Do you still see yourself as the lesbian ghoul? I do, but I'm getting better. I'm getting fitter. I'm getting stronger. And I saw a girl look at me a couple of days ago. It could be I was trying to take a purse, but anyway. Agree, Crown land has to be opened up. That's it, Dan. No flesh. And that's where they could also dump a lot of our new immigrants to over there to help build something that they feel that they're part of alongside Australians and make them fit, make them proud. And I believe also that when you actually come to Australia, you should stay dual citizenship for the rest of your life. And if you ever do a violent crime, you should be sent back home, rip up the citizenship papers for this country. So there's always a pathway to send them home. Hey, Tim, how are we? Hoodle diddle, how are we going, mate? We're about to get off here. Ivy Fat Cat got my PFA tomorrow morning for artillery. That should be easy for you, mate. The PFA should be what everyone has to be able to do to get their dole check. Was she licking lips, Kaz? She was, but in disgust. Hoodle diddle. Dutton looks like holds his loose skin behind his head with bag clips. I think he's just been there for too long. He doesn't have any momentum there. You know, I don't have any problem with him. I just think that there's not enough of him to go around, to tell you the truth. Nutter, shouldn't be too surprised, Kaz. We all line up to just out you for an hour every week, mate. Good point, Nutter. Blakey Smith, I'm overweight, but I'm fit. 115 kilos, can run the 2.4 in 12.5 minutes, which is my worst exercise. I can double a PFA, except beep test. I can double a PFA, except the beep test easily. She'll be worried about the medical. Blake, how old are you, man? How old? If you're under 25, you have to be able to run in under 11:18. In Penrith, she was rolling a dart. Kaz, Cas Border Force greeted Crims on their discharge day at the prison from us straight into handcuffs into a man to a detention centre. Yeah. In reserves infantry course, the same physical difficulty as non-reserve. The thing that I found really hard about the reserve units is that you used to get penalised if you didn't turn up. And it seems like now people don't get penalised for not turning up on the Tuesday nights, on the weekends, on the mandatory training, which means that now their commanders need to redo this mandatory training. You know, unreserved should never be seen as a joke. You know, they are the people that can domestically look after us in our worst times. So take it seriously. You know, get all of that cash that you make in Army Reserve and invest it. You say you do it for free, prove it. Invest all that money, and then as you get older, you can have more money than you can poke a stick at. You're not going to go to Thailand to get married. You can get it done in Australia. Well, that team, DEI, it's unacceptable. We know what it means. It means you're not qualified. It means you did not earn it. Okay. Don't accept it. You know, otherwise, your entire team will be DEI. Blakey Smith says 26. I reckon I can get it down. Get it down in 10 minutes in a couple of months. Absolutely. Get it down there. It won't take you that long, Blake. It won't take you that long. You can get down there in a week or two. Easy. You know, you just got to get out there and train hard, mate, and you'll be fine. Fine. Sledgehammer. Keep up the good work. Cheers, bro. Well done, mate, and thank you for coming and join us today as a member. You know, look at him there. He's a little private soldier in the comment section. I'll have that coffee tomorrow when I'm with my daughter, taking her somewhere special before school holidays ends on Thursday. So take it easy, guys. Yeah, we'll have something more interesting for you soon, okay? Take it easy. Thank you for your time. And for those in Singleton at the moment, you're about to find out what meritocracy is, because if you're at the back of the line, it's not going to be easy.